Howdy, I'm Charlie. I'm Charles Deering. This is Maker. I start every show like this. This is Maker's Mashup. Tonight we're going to be talking to Mr. Dave Gatton of Garage Works CNC, but the show won't be entirely about CNC. It'll be mainly about Dave Gatton himself and things he does, but a lot of that is CNC. But if you saw the show notes with the announcement, there are places. I don't know how to word it because that's not what I do well, but there are places that CNC and scroll sawing and even other types of work actually overlap. But in my opinion, one of the biggest ones is that designs used for scroll sawing can be used on a CNC, and we'll get into that. But real quickly, I need to mention any noise you hear in Dave's background. There's a football game nearby. We're hoping the cheerleaders will stop by afterwards, but don't hold your breath. I need to mention Harneal Media is my sponsor. Steve Nealon, a great guy, along with somebody else, somebody HAR. But anyway, Steve Nealon, thank you very much, and it's because of him and a little bit of work from Hobby, or actually a lot of work from Hobby, that got my site to where it is. You no longer have to wait for me to be sitting at my computer to fill an order. You buy it, you get a download link, boom. And same with my instructional, how to make scroll saw pattern DVDs and different things. Those are now downloadable. You don't have to wait for ship. You don't have to pay shipping or wait in the mail. They're out there. The only thing is if you don't get the actual DVD, there's no free pattern involved. But you're basically learning to make the pattern anyway, and you can do it because I know you're great people. But anyway, that's enough about me. The only time I will mention me throughout this show is every other chance I get. I'm kidding. What I mean is in reference to scroll saw patterns and how they can be used on the. I was about to say on the DVD, but on the CNC. But anyways, let me quickly introduce my lovely co-host. Oh, he's not here. So I'll just introduce you to Jamie Page. You can't find me the. Okay.
How you doing, everybody? Yeah, I'm Jamie Page. I was the runner-up on the latest Gatton CNC thingy. Unfortunately, Charles Deering won the latest one. You can find me at the Makers International podcast. You can find me on YouTube at JP Woodwork. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JP_Woodwork. And thanks also to Steve Nealon. You can also soon find me at jp-woodwork.com. So yeah, I'll soon have a website up and running, and also a lot of help for Harry as well for helping me out on my logo, sorting it out and clearing it all up as well. So.
Congratulations on that. And I every time I would thank Hobby, he said Steve's doing all the work, and Steve is doing I'll just say it, he's doing a buttload of work, but Hobby's helping on a lot of the graphic end of things, and that helps. So Hobby, you're getting thanked. Anyway, again, that's Harneal Media is my new sponsor, and it's HARNEAL media.com. If I'm incorrect, he'll correct me and I'll cry and apologize. But let's get back to the topic of the show. That is Mr. Dave Gatton. He's somewhere in Georgia and falling asleep, so we're not going to say whether or not he's wearing pants because the show is clothing optional. But he looked over to the chat the second I said that. Dave, go ahead and introduce yourself, and for the 3 people in the world that don't know who you are.
Okay, thanks, Charles. I'm Dave Gatton. You can find me mostly on YouTube and Facebook. Facebook under Dave Gatton, or I have 2 Facebook groups. One is Garage Works CNC, right there, and of course the Gatton CNC Facebook group. And my YouTube channel is basically just Dave Gatton, so you can find me there. Got a good fly or something right now.
Okay, for those, real quickly, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Dave. For those that don't know or don't know anything about CNCs, it's okay. Dave can help you, but it's important to know that Garage Works is spelled with a WORX.
Yeah.
In case you're looking for it and haven't ever heard of it before. Sorry. Go back to you, Dave.
Okay, and thanks, Charles, because I never think to tell people that. I just assume they know. I've seen it somewhere.
Yeah.
But Charles asked me little earlier tonight, you know, if I could come on and be his guest tonight, and I said, well, sure, you know, and then I thought, well, let me try to throw some stuff together. So Charles and I had talked, I don't know, probably a month or so ago, I guess, about his patterns and how they can be used with a CNC. So I went through and selected a few patterns, barn patterns, as I recall.
Yes, sir.
And so I picked one of those, and I had to kind of rush around because I didn't know I was going to be on this show until just a few hours ago. But I tried a couple of different, tried to cut a couple of different things with the CNC from one of his barn patterns, and it's pattern 336. If anybody wants to know what pattern it is, so I'll just kind of show what I did, and you guys can decide how well they come out. Keep in mind that because I was limited on time, I just happened to have some 6 by 9 inch pieces of 1/2 inch MDF that I keep cut for just demo purposes. And I just happened to have one that was already, and I'm not even sure if this is, I'm not sure if this is black paint. It may be ebony stain. I can't even remember because I did it so long ago, and I just had the blank there. But this is one of Charles's patterns. Barn 336 is the pattern. And keep in mind again that this is just MDF, and also I had to shrink it down because these are only 6 by 9. But this is the first barn pattern.
Oh, that is awesome. Is it possible to come a little closer to the camera?
Yeah. Let's see if I can get it a little bigger here.
That's plumb nifty right there.
So, and then I got to thinking, as this one was running, I thought, well, let me try doing it the reverse way, opposite of this, where I carve it and then come back and paint it and then sand it off. And again, keep in mind that I was kind of pressed for time, but I think this one got kind of an interesting look. I can tell when I started sanding, the paint hadn't completely dried, but I don't know. To me, it's got kind of an interesting look. You guys can, I'll let you guys decide.
Well, that's kind of cool. Yeah, it kind of gives it a almost a cloudy sky or a modern art. That looks really cool.
Yeah,
I need to defend myself right quick. That's beautiful, Dave. But I want to defend myself. The reason why Dave had such short notice is I asked multiple people if they could be on the show, and some weren't able to, which is completely fine. I mean, there's life. People live lives outside of the show. And I had last-minute cancellations and other people I was waiting to hear back from, and I didn't, and I panicked. And so I just, if you got a message for me and eventually responded and I didn't respond back, that's why that they've got last minute notice, just because I couldn't get somebody on the panel.
It's always an honor to be invited, you know, as you're like, what, 4th or 5th choice for your show. So,
you're not the only one that told me that today, just to be clear.
But you know, Charles probably knows that I don't have a life, or at least not much of one. So I was happy to help him out. And like I said, I thought, oh gosh, I've had those patterns now for, I don't know, probably at least a month, and I haven't ever got around to cutting them. But I did want to point out too, and I'll just hold one of these up, or well, I'll get both of them here. These are the same barn, just kind of a different thing. But also, I wanted to mention that these patterns are exactly as Charles did them. I didn't do any kind of cleanup on them or anything. I just put them in there, put the tool path on them, and that's it. And they came out pretty decent, considering this is just MDF. Another thing, and I would have done yet a third one if I'd had a little bit more time. I've got another machine sitting right over here with the laser on it.
Oh, dude.
So I'm sure I'm going to go ahead and do that probably tomorrow, Charles, and I'll post pictures of all of these you know, on Facebook or something, or send them to you, and you can do what you want with them.
All right.
But yeah, I'm sure the laser one will look really cool too. The only thing is, the laser obviously runs a lot slower than you know, V carbon, so I probably wouldn't have had time to get that one done.
And it wasn't until that discussion I had with you that I realized that my designs could be used on a CNC. I'm thinking, dude, that opens up a whole nother market. But there again, the show is not about me, but I did need to mention that I did not realize that they were user-friendly when it came to CNC.
Yeah, and I can tell you for sure that, you know, our buddy Steve Good has a lot of free stuff over there on his site.
Yes, sir.
And I'm guilty of getting some of those, and especially Christmas stuff, and using them with the CNC. You know, most things you don't really even have to clean up at all. It just depends on the pattern. And again, like I said, you got to remember this is a 6x9 blank, so this whole barn is only like 5 inches tall. It would really look a lot better if I could have had the time to do it on really about twice as tall. If it was like 10 by 16 or something.
Yeah, the fact that you were able to get such detail out of something so small, I mean, that says a lot. Now that's again, I don't know a whole lot about CNC, admittedly, but I imagine because of the bit you use, that makes that fine detail come through.
I don't know which one it'll come off better on. If I hold this right, you can probably see right here where my finger is. Right, these bigger spots. I used a 1/4 inch end mill, and I only went down 100,000. So that's just milling like a flat pocket right there. Okay. And really, it took like about 20 seconds to do that. Then after that, I changed out to a 60-degree V bit, and that's what's doing. If I hold this stupid thing up here, right? That's what's doing all these little light. You know, that's just a little small groove right there is what that's doing. And again, like I said, I kind of screwed up because when I painted this, I didn't have any of the fast drying paint that I have around here a lot of times. And the stuff I put on here, and even you can see a couple of spots where it kind of just, you know, when you spray it.
Yeah.
So I got some of that. And then when I went to sand it, you can see that some of the dust is kind of mixed in with the black because the paint wasn't dry when I started sanding. But I think it made it kind of a cool look.
Almost,
I kind of like
almost
that
a ghostly effect. Yeah, it's very artistic. You could have played that off. So this is a no effect I was going for, and let's see how it went.
Yeah.
Real quickly, so I can get the topic off of my designs, but can you let CNCers know how they can convert my designs, because they're usually in either GIF or PNG format? Can you let them know how they can make it work towards the CNC?
I can explain that right here, I guess. But you can bring that in VCarve Pro, which is the software that I use. When you pull in a file like that, it'll say import bitmap, but what it really means is bitmap, GIF, JPEG, anything that's a raster file. And you can pull it into the VCarve Pro. You can size it however you want, and then you can do what they call a trace bitmap function in VCarve Pro, and then it traces those lines. The cleaner the file you start with, the better results you're going to have. But you know, like I said, this is all done, and I didn't touch anything.
That is so cool.
Pulled it right in there, did the trace bitmap, and that's it.
Well, I think another thing would be, now I'm just totally guessing, but when you show that black version, it looks like something that could be also done on a plasma cutter, if we're being technical here. I mean, because, you know, it really is cutting lines in a sense, right? Or am I just totally dreaming?
Well, if you had a plasma or a powerful enough laser, and you were cutting this in some thin gauge steel, yeah, you could do that for sure. It would cut all the way through where, instead of here where it's engraving.
Yeah, yeah.
It would cut all the way through. Now the little laser I have, it will leave. Let's see if I've got something here.
Oh, by the way, Jamie, if anybody asks any questions, feel free to interrupt us. It's okay. Or if they have any comments that are friendly.
Yeah, this is something I did the other night when I was doing a live stream on this is just old scrap piece of plywood. Can I get it?
That's real nice.
But that's what the laser does.
Oh, that's a Second Amendment?
And it looks like it's just burning, but if you take your fingernail, it's actually cutting into that just a few thousandths.
Wow.
So
Donna said, "What's a diamond drag bit?"
What's a diamond drag bit you would use for like doing acrylic or possibly glass, stuff like that?
Jim Bashir says, "How many watt laser is that?"
The one I have is a 2.8 watt. It's a real small one, little dinky thing.
Oh, okay.
In fact,
Is it kind of like one of them ones that you can get off like eBay for like $100? That sort of thing.
In fact, I think I can drag it over here.
Please stand by.
Let's see if I can get it. Well, nope, it's not going to reach.
Dag blabbit.
But yeah, the whole laser is only.
Well, I'm going to get mine if you want.
Maybe a couple of inches.
Is it about the same size pen sort of thing if you want?
But I will, tomorrow I'll get out here and cut that pattern with the laser. Just in case anybody wants to know too, as far as cycle times, of course, these are both exactly the same because it ran them the same thing, just painted them differently. But the cycle time, it took about 15 seconds to do that first roughing pass where it did the pocket. And the other stuff took just about 30 minutes.
That's not bad at all.
So you figure maybe it might take an hour if you had this blown up. But like I said, this doesn't look bad here. I mean, to me, it looks pretty good. I just wished I'd had more time to do it really about twice as big as what this is. I think
be ready for next week. I'm just kidding. No, I think it's neat, and I wish I could have given you more notice for everything. But of course, when I asked you, I didn't know you were going to do that. But I thought cool when you told me you were going to do that. So that's kind of a neat way to segueing into that scroll saw patterns are doable. I keep forgetting to change the camera, or that are doable on a CNC. And this is the part where I completely stop talking about me and my designs. But Dave, you haven't always done CNC, have you?
No, CNC is what I'm most known for. Probably a lot of folks don't even know, that I have a table saw and a band saw. Unless I throw up some project video or something, or a challenge or something like that, they're probably, man, I didn't know Dave did that stuff.
No.
But yeah, I've just and kind of I got into woodworking because of the CNC stuff. Because when I started trying to build CNCs, I needed woodworking tools, table saw, band saw, that kind of thing, to make parts to build what I wanted to do for a CNC. So it kind of, and when I first started doing CNC, I built and sold them and did that for about 3 or 4 years. And then when the economy, back in 2008, when the economy kind of took a dive, I wasn't really selling that many. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to take a break. I'm going to quit advertising them. And that's when I really started to enjoy not only my CNC, but woodwork. That's when I got I ordered my shop building and had it put around back. So I've got well, I've got 3 CNCs here. I've also got another CNC back around in my shop. I've got table saw, band saw, miter saw, drum sander, disc sander, lathe, DeWalt 788 scroll saw. Low mileage.
They just mentioned the scroll saw in the chat room.
Yeah.
Now, somebody earlier, well, before I get into that, you started out, you said you made a CNC, but a lot of people don't realize that you were selling plans to make a wooden CNC machine, correct?
Well, the original one, I hate when people say that, because the original plans I gave away. I didn't sell those.
Oh, sorry.
And it still irritates me when somebody goes, "Yeah, I bought those plans from you." I'm like, "No, you didn't buy them, because I gave those away." It's only the Gatton CNC is when I started charging for the kits, because I offer the plans with the kit for those. But yeah, but I gave away and everybody knows that as the how to build a CNC router on a shoestring budget. That was the video series I did. And those plans I gave away, and I stopped counting after about 4,000 sets of plans. So I don't know how many of those are out there, because since it was just plans, they're all over the world. Those went everywhere.
Okay, I'm gonna need your client list, email list, so I can. No, I apologize for being one of those that thought you sold them. My brain cells and CNC do not work in the same subject, so that's why I don't know a whole lot about CNC. I tried, and people tried to help, and it just above my head. But Dave has so many CNCs, that's why he's sending me one. He found out just when y'all did, so that kind of worked out. But he said he checked his PayPal account. Apparently, the money hasn't hit yet. But anyway, now somebody told me earlier, I saw a comment in one of the groups, I believe it was Mark Lindsay, said something to ask you about cigar box guitars. Was it being facetious, or do you actually make those?
I have made a few, and it's funny you bring that up, because we just had, right here in my little town of McDonough, the first annual Cigar Box Guitar Festival.
Oh.
And I went to that this past Saturday, had a great time, met a guy from Nashville. I don't know if any of you guys are cigar box guitar people, but met Travis Boland. He was playing. Had a good time. And actually, I wish I had known a little bit ahead of time, because all of the vendors, and like I said, it was kind of a small venue because being their first one, but there were probably a half a dozen guys that had like Easy Up set up, and little things set up outside selling their cigar box. And I don't think they packed up much when they went home. I think they sold just about everything they had there. And I think, man, I wish I had built a few. But I have built a few. I don't even have any around here now, because I've given them all away.
But is that something that can be done on a CNC? I mean, since we're on the topic.
Well, you can. I mean, you obviously don't have to have a CNC to do it. I used mine for, in fact, I think that's how Mark Lindsay first ran across my videos. Is I was doing a video on how to. I had made a fixture where I could put a fretboard in it, and then I had it programmed where you hit the button, and it would use a little tiny V-bit that would go back and forth across that fretboard to lay out the fret lines. And then you could take your fret saw, and you had a little groove to put it in, but you had the accuracy of the CNC instead of trying to lay them out with a ruler or do them with a table saw with one of those fret cutting jigs and stuff like that. So,
yeah, even if you know nothing about CNCs, they are definitely known for their accuracy, and that's a benefit to it. And Jamie and I were talking earlier before the show aired. What were your thoughts when because it's kind of funny anyway, because before a lot of makers or woodworkers, makers in general were getting CNCs, there was all kinds of debate about whether or not CNC was woodworking. What was going through your mind when all that crap was going on?
Well, Charles, ever since I started doing YouTube, which you know, and a lot of people don't know this. I've probably been doing YouTube longer than most people have. I'm not as popular as everybody else because I've, you know, got my old country boy style kind of unpolished. But, you know, I've been dealing with that for a long time. I would do a project, you know, what I would call a woodworking project. But if I did even one little part of it on the CNC, I'd always get the haters in the comments saying, oh, yeah, that's easy for you. You got a CNC. And actually, I got so many of those types of comments. That's actually what prompted me one day. If you go back, and I'd have to think what video it was because I've got over a couple hundred videos out now. But there was one right before that shoestring budget series. I had it up to here with the CNC haters, and at the end of one of my videos, I don't remember which one it was, but I just said, look, you guys think this stuff is so hard to do? It's not that hard. Anybody can build one of these. And if there's enough people that are interested, I'll show you how. Well, man, did that open up a can of worms, because that's when I got all kinds of emails and comments. And so after that, I thought, okay, now I guess I got to design one. So that's where the how to build a CNC router on a shoestring budget came from. That was all prompted by the haters. And even today, there's still a few of them around. You know, I really don't give a
rat's booty
what people think. I've got CNCs. In fact, I've got 5 CNCs. I got 3 here. I got 1 in the house and 1 in the shop.
That's too many, Dave. Just saying.
And
do you fancy having 3?
Yeah.
And
2 people right here.
You know, I'm going to, and I tell you what really irritates me.
People begging for CNCs.
Well, that too. But no, what really irritates me, and I don't think I've ever said this publicly, but here it is right on your show, Charles. I'm going to say it.
You heard it here.
One thing that always has irritated me is when I do a project and somebody says, well, that's not real woodworking because you did this on a CNC. And I'm thinking about, well, you know what? I didn't go to, I'm not going to mention any names. I don't want to bust anybody else up, but I didn't go out somewhere to a CNC store and buy a CNC and bring it home and then start doing all this cheating woodworking. I designed, built everything. So would it be any different? Would it still be real woodworking if you built your own table saw and used that to do a project?
Exactly, and that's a lot of what the debate was, or the favorable side of it, if nothing else, was to say, even if you use a hand drill, that's a tool you're using. Now, the biggest argument was, well, I could push a button and walk away, but shut those haters up too, because it's more than just pushing a button, isn't it?
It's
a lot
way
more. Yeah,
it's way more than pushing a button. I wish it was that simple.
Me too.
I really wish it was that simple, but yeah, it's a different kind of skill. You know, it takes a certain skill level to run a CNC well, and it takes a certain skill level to use a scroll saw well. It's 2 different skill sets. You know, anybody that wants to knock on a CNC and go, oh yeah, that's easy. All you do is push a button and go. I invite them to come, and I'll even let them tear up one of my machines. Thinking it's so easy they can just push a button. There's a lot more to it than that.
Absolutely. Jamie, do we have any questions or comments regarding the debate?
I just kind of want to quickly say something. It's kind of a little bit of a story. When I was going through customers coming to the Atlanta Woodworking Show, the border security guy was asking me all sorts of questions like, what you're doing here, blah, blah, blah. And one of the questions he turned around and said to me was, what do you mean by woodworking? And my response basically was, working with wood. Because that is woodworking. No matter what it is, whether it's scroll saw, CNC, lathe work, it's woodworking is you're working with wood.
Exactly.
So haters are gonna hate. At
Well,
the end
yeah,
of the day, no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, and it usually doesn't bother me much, you know. And I kind of joke now because, as you might know, Powermatic, you know, the gold standard. Everybody knows what Powermatic table saws and band saws and all that stuff are. Okay, they have CNCs out now, and in fact, I thought it was kind of funny because when I haven't seen one in a while, but used to see their ad on Facebook, and it would say, Powermatic CNC, what was it? The gold standard for the true craftsman or something like that. And I'm thinking, okay, now if they're saying all of a sudden they're changing their tune and saying that CNC's close enough to woodworking that they're going to make one, then I guess, you know, it's all well and good now.
And I think it's a good thing that that so many CNCs and Vendables was giving them out. You were having success selling them, and probably still are. And that's when people got to appreciate what it takes to create with that, as well as creating it. So I mean, I think that shut a lot of the haters up. I mean, you're still probably going to get haters, but I think that's what shut them up, is realizing what it took to make things with it, and that it can complement a project as well, and it doesn't have to be a full CNC project.
Right. I mean, I make a lot of projects where I only use the CNC for a small part. You know, I don't know if you can see it in this shot, but over there on the side, I have my little cabinet that I did for the pallet challenge. And I used the CNC to engrave the front of that cabinet door. But everything else was table saw, you know, gluing up with clamps, band saw, miter saw. I mean, I think I used every tool in my shop around that. And then came around and did the engraving.
Edward Henry has asked, is that the big one behind you?
What's that, Jamie?
Is that the big CNC behind you?
This one is the mid-size. It's the 36 by 24. I have one that's bigger than that, and I also have one that's smaller than that.
Right. Okay.
Sorry, I had to multitask.
Steve Leland says Dave must use a CNC to cut his steak.
Keep talking, Jamie. I got something important happening.
I'll tell you. Go. Happy said, "What's wrong with cutting your steak with a CNC?"
Yeah, I wouldn't want to get that kind of mess on my table, but
I've been known to cut hamburger meat with my scroll saw. Just saying, tools can be used for all kinds of things. Go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, Donna said if it was as simple as pushing a button, she would have one.
Yeah, and I just want to say, while we're talking briefly about the CNCs, you know, the Gatton CNC kits that I sell, you know, that's just birch plywood that I cut those parts out of. And to me, I am still amazed at not just the machines these guys build, because some of these guys are painting them up all pretty and all that stuff. But what I really am amazed at is when they start posting what they've made with that plywood machine. It's you know, so like I said, don't talk to me and say it's not woodworking, because when you're putting one of these machines together and then you get it all dialed in, you know, that's a whole nother skill set.
Real quickly, now this may sound like I have an agenda, but what I was dealing with is that we have someone actively, I don't know if the word is complaining, but being negative about CNC. So this is an example of how to deal with a hater, and maybe hater is too strong of a word. But Jamie, you're out in that chat. Can you give us an example of some of the negativity being said out there, and yeah, maybe this person will change their tune?
I can't see anything unless you spotted something that I have.
Yeah, I see somebody out there And a little, you know, you're welcome to come to my shop and see what you can make with a CNC.
Well, I'll say it. I'm not calling the name out for any other reason than to maybe we can address his critiques, or for lack, because I don't see the exact words because I'm not good at multitasking. But Lee Knighton is saying some negative things about the CNC, so that's who the name to look for, Jamie, and to address what he's saying.
Okay.
And to be fair, I'm not going to argue with somebody that cuts something on the scroll saw.
Yeah.
But, you know, where do you want to draw the line with real woodworking? Is it just all hand tools? You know, are you cutting that scroll saw with a pedal and pumping it, or are you using electricity?
Exactly.
You know, it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good example, because when corded tools came out, I'm sure there were craftsmen that were saying, well, that's not real woodworking. This thing's doing it for you. But, I mean, things progress. And then there's some people you're never going to convince. And, again, me bringing up Lee Knighton was because it was brought to my attention asking what I wanted to do about it. And I said to him, well, he's entitled to his opinion, so let him have it. But I thought maybe, again, not knowing what it's saying in the chat, but if anything he's saying can be addressed, well, rather than debate.
I see a comment where it says it takes a lot more of a challenge to do it by hand. It depends on what you're trying to do.
Exactly.
There's a lot of things trying to get a CNC to run right that's pretty challenging too. You know, like I said, you don't just throw a bunch of, you know, a drawing in the computer and hit a button and it spits out the code and everything's hunky-dory. There's a lot more to it than that. And obviously, he's probably somebody who has never done it, so he don't know.
That kind of reminds me of a story, and it's going to be bringing back one of Charles's patterns. I was going to cut out a pattern for Robin Jacobson and her mum that Charles had designed, but the pattern that I could do was too big, so I sent it to Justin Levine, who owns a CNC. And he was able to make it a standard sheet of paper size. Obviously, if I'd done it on a scroll saw, it would have been as easy as put it on the scroll saw, cut it out, and send it off. But the shipping would have been too much. So that's by the by. Well, the struggles that Justin had to get the CNC to work, and it wasn't a CNC issue; it was a software issue. And the problems that he had, so it's not as straightforward as what people are thinking about. You need it up there, and you need your hands to work as well. You know, so it's with people saying that it's not as it's easy and things like that. It's not as easy, but you don't have to. It's not rocket science at the same time.
Yeah, and I will say this on behalf of the show. Nobody on this panel represents the show any more than face value. But I will say this for anybody in the chat. Number one, I appreciate the participation out in the chat, but I'm not able to see the chat right now. But if anything is, and I'm trying to stay as calm as possible, if anything out there is being said, you're allowed to not agree that CNC is woodworking and this and that. But if it's crossing the line of flat out rude, boot his sorry little butt out of here. I'll say it publicly. I'm sorry, but
I think they're behaving. It's just healthy conversation over there. And like I said, I've been hearing this crap for years, and all I can say is, you know, you better at least not be talking about me, because I can with my hands build a CNC to do all this other stuff. So,
exactly. And since I said that publicly, I need to apologize publicly. If he's being civil about his disagreement, all power to him. But
he seems too out of hand.
He seems to be civil.
They're kind of big. The CNCers and the scrollers are kind of bickering a little bit between themselves. But
okay, I publicly apologize
healthy debate, I think. So we're good.
So I publicly apologize for calling you out. I thought it was getting nasty. I'm not there.
Yeah, he seems to be being civil at the moment.
All right, thank you for your civility. I shouldn't have done that publicly, but sometimes I react before I think. But I'm glad it's being civil, you know.
Well, I wasn't going to mention names because, for one, I didn't know who it was. And I don't care. Like I said, I've been hearing this stuff, and even now, I can still, do a video and do 2 minutes worth of CNC work. Like if I do a box, well, just like that cabinet I did, I used my dovetail jig, put dovetails in that, a freaking pallet thing, and I put dovetails in it. But then I used the CNC for it. Well, there's probably, if I hadn't even looked at that video lately, but there's probably somebody griping that I used the CNC on it, even for that little bit. But whatever, I don't care.
Yeah, I just
CNCs right now. That's how I buy groceries, folks.
Yeah,
that's my thing. That's how I buy groceries, is because of CNC. So
yeah, and it's your thing, and by God, I try to buy groceries with scroll saw patterns, but most people that at the grocery store don't have a clue what a scroll saw.
And also, let me say this too about scroll saws. At the Hickory, North Carolina, the Clean Sport Extravaganza last year in Hickory, North Carolina, last October, which is coming up, by the way, end of October, this next month. I was just amazed at the scroll saw work. I stood and watched one guy till my feet got tired standing there watching, and he was doing these puzzles. Had a real tiny blade in there, was doing, and he made it look so easy. And so, to make a long story short, I left and came back from Hickory, North Carolina with the DeWalt 788 stand and light and all this stuff in the car. So I'm not a scroller. I wouldn't even consider myself a scroller, not even a beginning scroller. I've used it a little bit, played around with it a little bit. But I figured, the same way with the lathe. I have a lathe too, and I haven't hardly used it much. But I figured one day when things slow down, I'll already have that stuff. I can sit on my stool and be like Charles Deering. Only not near as good, but.
Well, I was going to say, a majority of folks out there don't want to be like Charles Deering. Trust me on this. And the last thing I'll say about it is a healthy debate's a good thing. So I'm glad that's going well. If that changes, the moderators know what to do. Jamie being the main one.
You got Trevor Carter out there. He's a perfect person to.
Yeah, he does both.
He does both now.
Yeah.
So
he does quite a bit of stuff.
He's the perfect. I'm glad you mentioned Trevor because I want to give him a shout out. He's the perfect example of somebody who'd never messed with a CNC. Bought one of my, and we're talking the plywood CNCs now, the plywood Gatton CNCs. And he has built a beautiful machine. He's got some pictures he just posted on Facebook. And not just that, not just the machine, but the beautiful projects he's done and posted on Facebook.
He's also got a beautiful logo.
A few months ago, he probably didn't even know what CNC stood for. So
Jamie's saying he has a beautiful logo. I have this strange feeling Jamie had something to do with this logo.
Yeah, I designed it.
That is a complete and total shocker. I just
cleaned it up.
No, Trevor's a great guy. Y'all will remember him when I had him. If you watched the show, I had him featured not too long ago. I believe he may have been the last one I featured because since then it was kind of the winging it type shows. When I can't find a guest, I'll wing it. But and the reason why, real quickly, not to make the show about me, but the reason why some weeks this suddenly turn into we're winging it is because people have lives. They can have the best of intentions and say they'll be on the show, but life gets in the way sometimes. These things happen. It doesn't bother me in the least. It just makes me panic a little bit, but such is life. So I just wanted to make that clear that when you see a show that's winging it, doesn't mean I couldn't get a guest or just thought maybe whatever topic we're going to talk about is going to go. But back to Mr. Dave Gatton.
Now, aren't you glad that you picked me as your third or fourth, fifth choice and we get a good controversial show going?
23rd choice, but if we're being honest, I'm just kidding. No, Dave, you're a great guy, and sometimes I have to go through my friends list or my past messages to see people I've talked to. And it's sad too because
before he gets to his acquaintances.
Yeah, because it's funny too because before I had Mark Christopher on, before I had Trevor Carter on, because okay, Andy Berkey, in my opinion, I saw some of his work and it just blew me out of the water. But and it's the same with 99% of the guests I've had on the show. But I am not good at keeping up with who's doing what, and I said it on the show with Trevor. Here again, I'm talking about myself, but I'm making a point here. I can have the best of intentions, but I will completely forget who all's out there. And some people say, well, just do your show. But my show and other shows do generally have the same audience, so I try not to get the same people that have been on basically every show. Nothing against them. I try to go in order of ones that I haven't been out there a lot. And some people just won't do live shows, and you got to respect that. But that was the case with Trevor and Mark. I've never had a negative thing with them. They're both awesome, great people. Mark Christopher is such a sweet man. And I mean that masculinely, manly.
That was a good show.
Yeah, that was. And we even got to see,
really showed his.
Yeah, we even got to see nipples and hear about him not wearing pants. So that, if nothing else, go watch that show. But that's an example of people that I hold very dear in my heart as true friends. But they're just a lot too. Maybe I overthink on trying to get people on the show. But I don't regret any guests I've had thus far. I don't regret any co-hosts I've had thus far. Jamie, just kidding. Me and Jamie.
Yeah.
He's my brother from another mother, and I talking like this. But anyway, show's not about me. Dave, do you have any passions aside from CNC? I mean, if for some reason you couldn't do CNC anymore, what do you think you'd be doing besides relaxing?
Well, I would just do regular woodwork or real woodworking.
I love it. Perfect response. Real woodworking.
No, I mean, I have just as much fun going out in my shop and, whether I'm running a table saw or a bandsaw, miter saw, the router table, it's all relaxing to me. It just happens to be that because of my background, what I did for a living back when I still
had a normal job.
Was always involved with CNC stuff, mostly CNC lasers, the big 4,000, 6,000 watt lasers. CNC just kind of came easy to me because of my background, and I still enjoy getting out here tinkering around, doing stuff on the CNC. But if I didn't have that, I would still definitely be a woodworker, although it probably what I would consider a hack because I'm not anywhere near the caliber of some of the guys I see on YouTube and stuff. But I have fun doing it, and that's what matters to me. So,
absolutely. And I think the only negative opinion I ever held of CNCs or lasers. The only negative opinion I ever had of them was those folks that would go to a place to sell them and pass it off as handmade. And I'm not saying CNC is not a craft. I'm saying, okay, an example, sure. If you cut something completely through, it's got burnt edges on a laser. If somebody is honest and saying this was done on a CNC and such, more power to you. I hope you're making enough to live off of.
Well,
but
I don't think you'll get any argument out of me from the CNC haters about that particular what you just said. I wouldn't like if I went to a craft show and I'm looking at something and, for me, obviously I can tell if it's cut on a CNC and they're trying to pass it off as handcrafted,
Yeah.
That I don't agree with that either. To me, why be ashamed that it's CNC made with a CNC?
Yeah, it was probably back when CNC was outside woodworking. But there again, I think a lot of people's tunes have changed on that. But I forgot what my next point was. But I think a lot of people felt that way. As long as you're representing what you're doing, be proud of it. However you do it, you do it. I mean, if you're not able to do, I have to do what Dave did, quote unquote, real woodworking. Do what you're good at. I mean, if you're good at CNC, go with it. If you're good at doing things by hand, go with it. If you're good at using chisels and planes and this and that, by God, go with it.
Yeah. You just, some of the, I love some of the stuff you see at craft shows, but I'm thinking to myself, how do they make any money? Because it must take forever to hand carve that or, something like, and I'm like, you know, give me 15 minutes on a CNC and I could knock that out. But again, I wouldn't try to pass anything off as handcrafted. And I don't, you know, I have all these CNCs and I make a few things occasionally, but anything I make, I usually give away to friends or something. I don't make anything to sell, or, you know, I either make it to give away or I'm making it for myself. Unless it is a CNC, I'll make those to sell, of course. But
well, I think that's another thing you can appreciate, because you're good at what you do. You have the craftsmanship behind what you do and the talent, but you can also sit there and drool over a piece that was hand carved. I mean, you can appreciate what's not done with a CNC. I mean, that's bluntly plain. I had another point, but I forgot it. So back to you.
I know sometimes when, for example, when I see people that post pictures of, let's say, a scroll saw project, and they'll post it on Facebook, and it's beautiful, and they'll go, well, yeah, I sold this for blah blah blah, and I'm like, dang, that's too cheap, because it would have taken me a week to do that, you know. But then I'm not much of a scroll sawer, so
I personally hate it when, I mean, it's kind of off topic, but when you sell something and somebody says, "Is that all?" I'm thinking, God, I could have gotten away with a higher price. Crap.
Yeah.
Okay, my audio went out for a second. I don't know if it showed up there or not, but I couldn't hear anything. But I mean, yeah, that's a whole nother show. Now, a scroll sawyer will, any scroll sawyer will probably take it as a compliment if they're accused of using lasers or CNC, because that means you're doing pretty darn good now. But if you're the average consumer, and this is just for the sake of seeing what's what, if somebody does try to pass something off as handmade and it's got burnt edges, that is the first indicator of laser. Nothing wrong with laser work, but if they try to pass us off as handwork, blah blah blah, that's it. We only have 4 minutes left. Dave, is there anything you want to say publicly or plug or this and that? And then
yeah, if you don't mind, Charles, I would like to mention, since you know, I'm doing another meetup, and since we've got kind of a different audience than I usually have when or at least some, you know, when I do my live YouTube streams, is I'm doing a meetup. It's going to be at my good friend Melinda Davies' shop in Stockbridge, Georgia. It's September 30th from 3 to 7, or whenever Melinda decides to run us off. I'm going to be catering some barbecue, and it's going to be a great time. And it's not just, the reason I wanted to bring it up on your show, Charles, it's not a CNC meetup. It is a CNC / woodworker / maker / whatever meetup.
Just a good old get together, by golly.
Just a good old get together. We'll all eat some barbecue. You know, I've got a couple of things posted on Facebook. I also have something on my forum on my website. I need to get a good head count because you know, I got to know how much barbecue to order.
Now, I'm thinking Dave has a thing for barbecue, because when I got to see Dave, I think I met him in Atlanta, but got to see him again in Dallas-Fort Worth. They had a get-together, and it was mostly CNCers, if not all, except for me. Well, no, there again, we're all multitaskers, multi-toolers, or whatever the word is.
Yeah.
But I was so glad that I got to see that when I heard y'all were doing it again. It was mentioned when in a picture that I was tagged in from the Dallas-Fort Worth get together, and I was thinking, cool, they're having another one. And then I saw Rob Austin saying, let me know when and where and blah blah blah, I'll be there. I'm thinking, cool, I can finally get to meet Rob Austin. Then I contact Dave and find out, oh, this isn't in Dallas-Fort Worth, it's in Georgia. Well, dang it.
Yeah, I was just showing the pictures of the last one.
Yeah,
but
show the people do show up.
Yeah, it'd be a good time, and you're right. BBQ is my 3 favorite letters right after CNC.
That's why you need to move to Texas. That's our blood type, is barbecue. Jamie said he had a quick question.
Yeah, it's from the chat. Edward Henry says, how lightly can a CNC engrave? I'm thinking of etching a pattern onto wood, then wood burning the details.
how light can a CNC engrave?
Yeah.
Pretty darn light, I would imagine,
Well-
because it's really a. I'll let you answer that.
I mean, it depends on, you know, this is done with V-carve. It's the V bit's going to go down however deep till it touches both sides of that line, or the, you know, where the little closed vector is. So, but you know, you can take your fingernail and stick in there. They're not deep at all on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's the paint that really sets that off.
Yeah.
And there again, did I ever allow you to finish? Because sometimes I interrupt. Did I ever allow you to finish telling people how they can convert a scroll saw pattern?
Yes.
You talked about
Yeah,
bringing
you
it
did,
in,
yeah.
because it's the conversion that does it.
Yeah,
But-
and I use VCarve Pro, which uses that trace bitmap feature, but a lot of the other software packages have something similar to that same feature, where basically it's trying to take the colors, or if it's a black and white image, you can set it up for black and white, and it's basically trying to trace around the pixels and come up with a shape that makes it where you can cut it with because it has to be a vector file to cut with a CNC.
Now, is there any such a thing of having to change anything to make it work on a CNC, or is it always the thing will follow what it's looking at?
Well, I can't remember, Charles. I think I got like 3 or 4, or maybe you had a bundle, I think, and maybe it was 7 different barn files that I got from you. But at any rate, I haven't tried all of them. But I'm sure with your vast library of patterns, I'm sure if I dug around, I would find something and bring it in and go, oh, I'm going to have to clean this one up a little bit. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, and there again, I don't know enough about CNC to cater to them, so I'm sorry if you have to mess with it.
It's kind of like, it's like a lot of times if I'm going to engrave something, let's say I want to put I don't know. Let's say I want to make something and I want to put a cow on here.
I have a cow
You know,
pattern.
just a big old cow. Well, what I would do is I would go to Google and I would Google cows. And then when all the, everything about cows come up, I would click on images. And then I would go to, I forget what it's called, more tools, I think. And then it drops down the list. And I would click line type, and I would, try to get a line drawing. And a lot of times you can get just a nice drawing, but it's just black and white. And you can, assuming it's not copyrighted now, I'm not suggesting people go get copyrighted images.
Yeah.
Of course, but if it's just, a drawing of a cow on there that's not copyrighted, you can right click, save the picture as a JPEG, bring it into that software, trace that bitmap, and set, if it's a black and white line drawing, you can tell it that it's black and white, and adjust it, and really go from an idea of, hey, I want to do a cow, to carving it in 10 or 15 minutes probably.
Awesome. Now, for those who might have had their interest peaked since, okay, I'm getting an echo. It's a little bit distracting, but I'll live. Okay, it is distracting. Whoever has that echo. Anyway, I don't know who it is, but it's gone now. But for those that weren't interested in the beginning, but might have gotten their interest peaked from hearing you, do you want to repeat your social media and your website and stuff like that so people can find you?
Yeah, I always feel funny doing the social media, because it seems like everybody knows where to find me now.
Yeah.
But you can find me on YouTube under Dave Gatton. Like I said, there's a little over 200 videos, some woodworking, some CNC, some a combination. You can also find me on Facebook under Dave Gatton, and I also have 2 Facebook groups. One is called Gatton CNC, and the other one is called Garage Work CNC.
All right.
And also on my, I have two different websites too. One is davegatton.com and the other one is garageworkscnc.com. On the GarageWorks website, and you can get to it really from either website, but I have a, for lack of a better word, Dave Gatton Community Forum, where it's anybody can really join and learn about CNC, but it's really kind of set up for the people that have bought a Gatton CNC or a GarageWorks CNC, or maybe they're thinking about getting one and they want to get question answered. I really, whether it be in the Facebook groups or in the forum, when somebody puts a question in there and they say, I'm brand new to CNC, I don't really know much, and they, and they'll ask some questions, or like, say they ask, well, what about a GarageWorks? Is that any good? Or what about a Gatton? I purposely just kind of sit back, because my people that have bought from me, my customers, I don't even really like to call them customers, because I consider them my friends too.
Yeah.
But they, if they tell that person, well, depending on what size you're looking for, you may want to go with this or this, and I've got this and it works great. Here's some pictures and blah, blah, blah. To me, it means a whole lot more to that person who's asking if he hears it from somebody other than me.
Exactly.
And they're going to know I'm going to say they're great.
Yeah. And they are, but that's the perfect example of a product selling itself. And I had another point. When I think more than two things, I have to regroup. But that's a perfect example of a product that's selling itself, and that's got to be heartwarming when people do that. But we are running low on time. I want to thank you very much for being on, Dave. I'm not going to sign out quite yet, because I want to let Jamie plug anything he may want to plug, including his Mechas International Podcast.com.
Yeah, it's actually, you just plugged the website. So, yeah, you can find my social media on the Makers International Podcast.com, as well as the rest of the guys. And obviously, I'm in the process of building my personal website, which is jp-woodwork.com. There's nothing on there at the moment. So it's pointless going over there at the moment. So, yeah, that's basically it.
I just want
to say thanks to everyone that's followed the Makers International Facebook page. We've just reached 500 likes.
Awesome. Congratulations. Real quickly, thank y'all both for being on. Thank you for all the viewers. We've steadily had over 30, and that's kind of heartwarming. I also want to once again publicly thank my new sponsor, Harneal Media, HARNEAL. And real quickly, Dave Gatton is spelled GATTON, and GarageWorks is WORX. Although you'll probably find them because everybody and their dog knows Dave. But yeah, pretty much. But thank y'all both for being on. Thank you so much to the viewers. Anybody, for the most part, wanting a link to get in here, let me or Jamie or even Dave know, and we will send you a link after the show is over. But even though we talked about CNC all night, I still got to say, scroll on.